So in the last class, we started seeing about replication through SLT. And let's say, just to recover, we had all the configuration done from ECC to HANA through SLT. Let's say I want to load some table. System. Okay, I just want to load some table. Say V back. Just select the table and say add. And set auto refresh. You should see that VBAC table created and then load. So since it is load, it only brings in what? Historical data, and then it does not create any trigger or log table. So no logging is done for the delta records here. See, it says now loading is in process. It is loading still. So it is done. Same way we can add, if I say replicate, let's say I will replicate some table VBUK. So when you say replicate, what it does it do? It actually brings in the historical data and then also create your trigger and the log table. And it does enable the delta recording, and anytime there is an entry, anytime there is a new record or change of an existing record or deletion of a record, it performs logging in the log table and then capture those changes, replicate those changes in real time into HANA data. First it does, even when you say replicate, first it does do the loading, then it will create the trigger and log table and sets as replicate in process. So now if there's any changes done, it'll do the delta recording and then takes care of pushing them into HANA database. But for now, I don't want to make my server busy, so I just want to stop this out. So when I stop replication, what it does do? It deletes the trigger, log table, everything, and no recording further. Yeah. And then suspend means what? When you suspend the replication, the log table and the triggers are not deleted. But whenever there's any postings, it keeps collecting the postings, but it will not push them into HANA database. And then when you say resume, from the where it has stopped pushing into HANA, you can start resuming that and starts replicating. It starts the replication from the point where it has stopped. Okay, now we're through with this. Now this is our state of forward replications. But let's say there will be many times scenarios where, let's say the table in the source is not satisfying, is not as per your requirements. You would like to do some transformations. Like say you want to add some extra columns in. Let's say in source the table has got 4 fields, but in HANA you wanted to have another extra field, and you would like to write some logic for it, or you would like to do some filtering of data. So when you are replicating data in real time through SLT, you also have flexibility of performing transformations to the data also. So that is the point we're trying to focus on now. Yeah. By using SLT, how do we do the transformation? So we're trying to focus on conversion of data. Let's say you're extracting data from some source into HANA through SLT, and there is some column, let's say, which we are not happy with the values in the column. You would like to transform that. Then I can do that through transformations concept of SLT. Say you would like to filter out some records. Let's say there are a lot of records, and you just want to extract only certain records of a table. We can do filtering, and also structural changes. Let's say in the source the table has got 5 fields, and in HANA you wanted to have 6 fields, or you wanted to remove some field in HANA. So you can do some structural changes to the target table. See, whenever you replicate, it is automatically creating a table in HANA similar to your source. We can have a flexibility of changing the definition of the table getting created into your HANA bus. And the same time, by default, the table what it creates in HANA would be a column store table. We can still change it to row store. And we can, with the transformation concept, we can also create partitions to the target table what is getting created in HANA bus. So when you replicate, it is automatically creating the table in HANA, right? When it is getting created, if you want to create partitions to the table, it is still possible through transformations. So modifying the data of a column, filtering, doing structural changes in the target table in HANA, then partitioning of the target table in HANA is what we can handle with the transformations. So this is more of a trigger-based transformations process. Same like your BW. In the transformation, you have start routine, end routine, field level rules, and you have the data processed in packet by packet. Even here, when it is extracting data from source to HANA through SLT, it processes data in form of portions. We call that as data packet size or portions, portion by portion. Let's say I've got 10,000 records. If I say the size of the portion is 1,000, it does process portion by portion. First 1,000 records are processed once, next 1,000, it processes portion by portion like that. Okay? So this is all the steps involved into it. Like you'll have start of replication. First it gets the first portion, loop through the portion of the records, then map those records to the target. Get the next portion, process the next portion, process it, next portion. It keeps on processing portion by portion. Yeah. Okay, and for all these transformations, like modifying, structural changes, filtering, all this, when you want to perform those transformations in SLT, if it is prior to DIMS SP5, if it is older version, okay, we use this T code, IUUC underscore REPL underscore content. This is the T code to perform all the transformations. If it is DIMS, before DIMS to SP5, if it is the latest version, instead of using this T code, we use a T code called LTRS. Yeah, we use a T code L, it is T, and it is R, S. If it is new support pack for the transformations, we use this T code LTRS. If it is old, we use this T code IUC underscore REPL underscore content. Yeah. Simple. How do we basically do the transformations? We go to the T code IUC REPL content, select the configuration, select the table, define all the settings what you want, and then save. That's it. On a higher level, performing the transformations would involve these steps. You just get in, choose the configuration or SLT configuration. Then within that, select the table for which you would like to do the transformations and define all your settings, and then perform a save. Yeah. We'll see the screen. This is how it is. You go to this T code, select your configuration, get to this screen, select your table, choose all the kind of transformations what you want. We'll get to this. Instead of seeing this, let's see this. The system is stuck. Okay. So let's go to the SLT server and use a T code IUC underscore REPL underscore content. Now when you want to do transformations, select your configurations first and say select configuration. Let's say you want to transform some table. Let's say I would like to transform some table called Y sales. Now basically for every table you set up, you can do customizations in these four options. One is table settings, rule mappings, proc and performance options. Either of these options can be customized. Select this and say edit settings for selected tables. When you get in, you get to see four tabs here. First thing, IUUC_REPL table STG. This is a table settings. Okay. At this tab, you can basically do all the structural changes. You'll have options like I'll show you. You get this table here. So it says for this table, see by default what happens when you replicate, what are the table name we have in the source, with the same name it creates in HANA. But if you want a different name, I can give a different name, target name for it. Normally, what happens whenever you replicate a table, if this table is already there in HANA, it will drop it and recreates it. If you select this, it will not drop it. And by default, it creates column store. So if you want it as row store, you can select this. So it creates a row store table. Here you can specify the size of portion, whether 1000 records per portion or 100 records, depending on your size. If you go to right, here you can click on this button and edit the table structure. By default, what happens? This is a source table definition. In source, I've got 4 fields. Even in target, in HANA, it creates with 4 fields. But if you want to change this, like say, in source it will be 4, but in target you want it to have extra fields, you can use this option to create a table structure, change the table structure. And if you go to right, you have something partition command. When the table is getting created in HANA, if you want the partitions to be created for the table, you can specify the partition command here. That is what you can do in table settings. Then you'll have a table called rule mappings. See, this is where you can build all your kind of transformation rules. Yeah. Say for example, you add an extra field in the extra column in the table in HANA, and you would like to implement some logic to fill that new column. So I can write some rules. Or let's say while replicating data into HANA, you would like to filter out some data which you don't need. So I can write all those kind of rules in this rules tab. Okay. So I can do filtering and all those stuff. Then you'll have a tab called system. Again, you'll have a tab called SPC proc. That is again, see what the SPC proc is only used for filtering data while reading data from the source system. See, in the rule map also I can do filtering, but in the rule map filtering, what happens? It extracts all the data to SLT server. In SLT server, it does do the filtering and then sends it to HANA. But let's say my requirement is I would like to apply filter while reading it from source itself. Then I'll have to use it in SPC proc. But whatever the filter you apply in SPC proc will be applied only during the replication process, only during replication, not during initial load. Because when you say replicate, it extracts historical data through load and then delta records through replicate, delta recording, right? So this, whatever this SPC proc you specify, will the selections, let's say you say where currency is equal to so and so, this selection will go and apply in the triggers. So whatever you specified here will be applied only for the delta recording records, not for the historical data. Then here you can specify the performance options, like say you are loading, do you want it to use indexes or do you don't want to use indexes, you want to use cluster tables, all this, you can specify some performance options here. So this is where you can do the settings. Okay. And especially when you basically implementing your rules in the mapping rules, here we can have rules in two types. One is event based or one is parameter based. So we can write your rules either by using parameter based or event based. Only thing is event based is a bit complex and more flexible. Parameter based is simple but less flexible. So this is what we're going to look at. Let's look at this. That is what the screens they're trying to show here. So table settings, rule map, proc, and performance options. So you'll have source, data comes into SLT, and SLT the transformation happens and then puts into target database. And these transformations can be applied with parameter based or event based. Now what is the difference between parameter based and event based? Parameter based is less flexible and easy to create using the parameters, but event based is more flexible, but you need to be very strong in understanding the different set of events what is being used, because when it's event based on the event we write the logic. And look at this, in the rule map screen you have all this, right? You have all this options. You'll have table name and all this. Let me just tell you once. So in the rules you'll have this, okay? You can say, so you'll say for which table you would like to have the rule. This is the basis release of your SLT server, and this is where, see, there's something event was. I told you can implement your transformations by using event based or parameter based. If you're implementing event based, then you'll have to specify the event. At what event you want this transformation to be applied. You say beginning of record, end of record, begin of processing, end of begin of processing, end of processing, begin of transaction, end of transaction, end of loop, begin of loop. You'll have different events. Shall tell you. So we specify when do you, at which event you want this processing to be done. Let's say begin of record. Then you don't use anything. Straight away you specify the ABAP program here. See, in the insert line of code, you can basically write your ABAP code straight away. And if you're trying to implement your logic with the ABAP, if the ABAP length, coding is just a 72 character length, I can implement it here. And if the coding is really big, what you can do is you can implement that as a separate include program in SC38 and specify that include program here. You can either create a separate include program with ABAP and then specify that include program here, or if it is small code which is within 72 character length, I can implement the code here itself straight away. So event based, you only specify the event and you only specify the logic, either through include program or the line of code. But if it is parameter based, you don't specify the event. You basically specify the export field, means for which field you specify the export field, for which field you would like to write the logic, and then you use the parameters. Once you use the parameters, you basically specify same way. You basically specify your logic in the include program or ABAP code straight away. So if it is event based, you use event. If it is parameter based, you use the exported parameters. And implementing the code with include program or the line of code is common for event based or parameter based. That is what you guys are trying to say. So this event is only for you specify the event. Look at this. It says, and the export field of parameters are only for not in use for event based, and the parameters of rules will be used for this. And when it comes to include program, both can use name of the program. And when it comes to this event, no event in the parameter based, and event of the rule is used in event based. Okay? This is simple. Basically, when you're implementing a logic with, if it is parameter based, okay, how do we implement the ABAP coding is what he's trying to explain. If you look at this, if it is parameter based, you specify the export field, right? And the export field name would be the field for which you are trying to fill the data for. For example, in this example, let's say your field is mandate. Let's say you're trying to write a logic for filling this field mandate. So your export field will be mandate, and while writing the ABAP code, you would refer the export field as E underscore the field. So when you specify an export field, so and so, write that you're writing logic for this field, and this field has to be referred into the ABAP coding include program or in line of code. You refer to the field as E underscore the field name, okay? And you also specify the different parameter values, right? 1, 2, 3, and those parameters can be referred in the ABAP coding as I underscore P1, I underscore P2, I underscore P3. When I say I underscore P1, it will refer to the value what is made into the parameter 1. I underscore P2 is referred to the value what is made in the parameter 2, I underscore P3 will be the value what is refers to the value maintained in parameter 3 bus. We'll see one example, you'll understand it. Yeah. Or you can see once in this format of style of coding, you can write the code straight away in this line of code here, or you can write that as separate include program and specify that include program here. Either ways can be done. And suppose if it is event based, how do we write the logic? If it is event based, you'll have to specify the event, whether it is begin of record or end of record. I'll tell you those events. Basically, when you're writing when you're implementing the logic with event based, you'll mainly have two work areas. One is WA, when is S is the sender, and R for the receiver, and the next the table name. Say for example, you are referring to a table Y sales, then, and if you want to refer to the receiver, then you'll say work area underscore R underscore Y sales. If you want to receive sender, then work WA underscore S underscore Y sales. Hyphen the field name, for which field you are writing the implement logic, you refer to the field. For example, I'm dealing with Mara table and I would like to refer the mandate field. Then WA underscore from center, WA underscore S sender, Mara hyphen mandate. If it is from receiver, I'll say I underscore R and then mandate was. So these are the kind of events how it gets in. See in BW you have like start routine first, then the individual field level rules, then end routine. Same way, when it is event based, there are different set of events where the data can be processed. So begin of process initial stage where the SLT processing is started up, and then begin of block, like say it tells you, I told you it extracts, once the processing is started, it extracts data portion by portion, so block by block. So beginning of each block or beginning of each portion, then looping through all the records of the block, begin of loop, and then within the loop, when you are referring to each record of a record, individual field mapping is done at this before a record. End of record, looping of the records is end of loop, and processing of the block is done, and the complete processing of this SLT is ended out. So depending on you want to write the logic at every beginning of the loop or beginning of each record being processed, you can decide the event and implement your logic. Same way, once you specify the event, you basically write your code either in the line of code or include program. See, while writing include program is referring to the fields as work area underscore R, R for receiver, S for sender, and then the field name, and then some table name, and then field name, and then assign the value. Like see, if it is parameter based, we can write the code straight away in this line of code, and maximum length of above code you can implement is 72 characters. Here, if you want to implement the above logic more than 72, you have to write that as separate include program and specify that include program here. Okay. And it's showing about how to edit the table structure. I will just see one example, then you'll see. Screen is stuck. Okay. So I have a table called Y sales. I've got these 9 records, and there are different currencies, euros and INR. And these are the 4 fields: V, bill, and year, date, and so on. So I have a couple of requirements. So my target source table has got this. Even in HANA, I want the table as Y sales. First thing is I want all these four fields. Then I want extra field as source ID something, which I want this. So my target field should have an extra field, and I want to fill this with the constant as say something like ECC something or EHP something. Okay, that is one requirement. And one more requirement is, if you remember, in the WARK in the currency I had euros and INR. I'm not supposed to allow euros. I'm only supposed to extract only INR. That is one requirement. And one more thing is, when this table is getting created in HANA, I want partitioning to be done on VBLN. Hash partitioning on VBLN. And I would like to implement this logics. Let's say I would like to add one more. That is okay. Structures. Okay. Now let's say I want to do all these transformations to be applied now. The system is stuck. Okay, let's do this now. So since I want to, I'll go to this IUC underscore REPL underscore content. Select your configuration. So select configurations. And for which table you would like to do, I'll say Y sales. Okay, I get this table. Select the table name and say edit settings for the selected table. Select the table and say add it. You get the table name. You get the table name here. So I want it as column store, so I don't have to worry about this no drop or no row store, because I want it as column store. So I would like to edit this table structure because I would like to have a different structure. So this is the source, this is the target. It keeps changing. I would like to change the structure by adding a new field here. Say add insert row. You would like to add, change or remove. I would like to add source ID. Position 1, 2, 3. I would like to add this as a fifth column. Data type is char and so let's and say calculate new structure. So it adds this field in the target. Let's say I would like to remove this date field. I can say add remove which field. So date field. Say okay. Calculate new stream. Now the date field has been removed. Like this, you can remove the field also. But I don't want to remove. But okay, like, or you can also change the length or some date. So I would like to change which column change you want. Let's say I would like to change WRK. Instead of length as 5, I just want to make it as 6. So now it says 5, right? CUK, if I care about the, because CUK will always have 5, that's what I don't want that. Like this, you can do a changes or add a new field or remove some field also. Anything can be done. I'm okay with adding a new field, one field, source ID, okay. And then I also want to create some partitioning onto the table. Then we can specify the partitioning command here. Partition. You can say partition by hash, and the field is VBLN. and number of partitions are 4. Okay. That's how we change the table structure, specify the partition. Now I would like to assign the rules. One rule was about skipping the record. Means like I would like to delete some, allow only a certain record. So Euro records must be deleted out. And one is assigning this value. Assigning to this, I'll make it as parameter based. This one I'll make it as event based. So add rule. Since it is parameter based, I'll not use event. In the export field, I specify the field for which you would like to write the logic, source ID, and I would like to assign some constant value as ECC, right? EHP. So in the parameter 1, I specify EHP as a single quote as a constant. Now you can start writing your code here itself straight away. Or I can write an include program here, or straight away write my code. So I can say how to refer that E underscore export field, how to refer E underscore source ID, and what is that you would like to assign the constant value what is made in the parameter. So how do you refer to this parameter? 1, I told you I underscore P1 and put a period. And you can write, instead of writing the code here, the maximum length of the code you can implement here, it would be 72 characters. If you want to go beyond this, you should write that as separate include program and specify it. That is one. And I would like to write one more logic, which is an event based. And before processing every record by record, at the beginning of record, I would like to do this. So if it is event based, I specify the event, and I don't specify any export field, no parameter. Straight away I start writing my code. So I can write my code here, or I can write my code in the include program. Right? So let me write this example. Let me write it as an include program. ZSLT skip. Let's say this is the program I want. I'm creating an include program. Okay, so in the include program, how do you refer to the in the event based? How to refer to the fields? My logic is what? If my currency is equal to not equal to INR, I'll delete those records, or because I want only INR records. So I'll see if I told you WA. Because my WARK currency field is available in sender as well as receiver structure also. I can say anything. Receiver. Here it is stuck.
So what happens when there are more than 3 input parameters?
Then you have to go with event based only, no?
Oh.
That's what I'm saying. Parameter based is less flexible but easy. Yeah?
Okay.
The system is stuck. Yeah. You can say receiver underscore the table name is what? Y sales. That is how you refer to the field symbol, work area. And then hyphen the field, WAERK, right? WAERK was your field. It's not equal to INR. If it is not equal to INR, I would like to delete them. So there is ready-made macro to remove the record. You have a macro called I'll come to this slide. You'll have a macro called skip underscore record. Let me use that macro. I think in Hyderabad there is heavy rains, right? So internet is a problem.
Sir, if condition will be on WA underscore S, right? For the
You can use
source.
anything. S is sender,
Ah,
R is receiver.
hmm.
So the field WARK is available in both sender and receiver. But for example, if I am referring
Hmm.
to the field source ID, which is only in the target structure, means it is only in the receiver. Then I'll have to explicitly use field symbol R only, not S.
Hmm.
That's a macro. I'll just skip underscore record. Activate this program. So instead of specifying the line of code, I can specify and include programming. Other things of this can be done. Okay. Now we'll deal this as separate one and then say save. Okay. Now let's start replicating the table. You can just say load. That's enough to see that effect. See, loading is executed. Then I should see the definition of the table first. I should see the new column source ID, and I should also see the table is been table has got partitions created. As four partitions are created, and when it comes to the data, I should see data only for INR only. So even though my table holds INR and euros, it is only bringing only data for INR. So this is about doing transformations with SLT. So I just want to show you with other one. There's another thing called proc, right?
Here we declared partition before, right? Based on data records, it will split
Yeah.
the
As
each
partition
partition.
is based on data, it automatically splits. Yeah. Yeah. Now I just want to remove uh, skipping of the records here. It is getting stuck. So now what I want to do is I'll remove this option of skipping the records. I told you this, we have got something called IUC underscore SPC proc where you can apply filter to the records while extracting from source, from the table, trigger itself. Okay, let me remove this out. Okay, now go to SPC, go to the SPC proc. And you say add new line. So Y sales, and then this is a table which you would like to apply the trigger level filtering. Okay, so what are the filters specified? It goes and sits into trigger. So the trigger is applied only on these records. Yeah. So now it not specific the style what is specified. It should be specific database now. So we're dealing with ECC, and then I want to know what is my underlying database of my ECC. What is MS SQL, right? See, if it is MS SQL, I'll have a different style of specifying the logic here. If it is Oracle, it will be a different style of specifying a logic here. Where you're extracting from ECC, all this, but look at this here. In I use SPC proc, based on the database, you will have different style. For example, if it is MS SQL, the style is the field name equal to value. But if it is Oracle, colon, underscore, underscore, dot, field name equal. So each, depending on the type of database, the syntax, how you specify the filter will be different. For me, it is MS SQL, right? So, so instead of extracting all the records to SLT, then filtering out records only for INR, while extracting the records from the database itself, I would like to have the filtering done from the source. So I'll apply that in proc. But whatever I apply in proc, it is going to affect your trigger, so it reflects changes only during replication process, not the historical loading here. Database is MS SQL. Okay, and what is your field is current WAERK equal to, so means what? Only INR records must be brought in, okay, nothing else. I'll say save. Okay, let's replicate the table. Now to see the effect, I need to replicate, because the SPC proc will only reflect changes in during replication, not during loading. So I said INR, right? See, first while bringing initial load, it will bring all currencies. It will reload the table again. Loading is done. In Y sales, I want to see the content. See, I was seeing only INR or euros also. Why I removed the transformation, but I applied filtering in the SPC proc, because SPC proc will not apply filtering during initial load, only during replications. Let's say Y sales replicate in process. Now it is in process. ఏమైందంటే actually in the backend what happens is when you go to LTRC, what are the filters specified will be applied. Now I showed you here, you can see the triggers, right? You can see the trigger codes, Y sales, anything. Let's say insert new in the not found. What is the trigger for insert? So if you see the trigger for insert, see, look at this field here. WARK is equal to INR. Where is this coming from? When you specify this filtering in SPC proc, that will go and get applied into the trigger seed. So this triggers will be effective only for delta recording, not during the initial loading modes. Right. So now let me go to SC11, Y sales. If I create new record, if I create with a new record as INR, will it come? Yes. Because you said trigger is equal to INR, so you get that record. ఏం పర్వాలే.
question, sir, convert data.
Sorry. See, the tool is there, but only thing is, there is a tool has come in. Okay. Now let me create record 13. If you see euro, because this does not satisfy the filter condition trigger, it does not do any logging for 13, and 13 does not come into HANA also. Only 12. See, no 13. Now again, if I create 14 with INR, I should see that. So see, 13 is not. So what are the filters specified in SPC proc, which is specific to database level? It goes and applies in the trigger. That's why the trigger what it creates will be specific to database of ECC, right? So based on the database, you should specify that in respective format.
Sir, here in VBLN source is showing as 1, but while coming to data in HANA, we are adding leading zeros, right? So that's the way it will come because of 10 character length.
And the normal alpha convert normal, right? Conversion routine will be there for the column.
So if you want only one, we need to apply conversion routine in HANA itself, or
alpha conversion output, then bring in. You can apply that in the transformations. In SLT.
oh.
The system is stuck. So now you know things.
So, sir, in this scenario, we have to apply two filters, sir. One is for historical data filtration, and second one is SPC proc.
Exactly. Yeah. Okay. You see in this part, so you can write your code here. Max length is 72 characters, and this is where it is. In table settings, you click on table structure and edit the table structures. You can add, delete, remove a column or add a column and refresh your structures. This is about adding a new column. And in the partition command, you can specify the partition command what to be used for partitioning. And no drop, data in HANA will not be deleted before the replication. Say the table is already replicated and you're replicating it again. You want to drop it completely and load, then if you don't want it to be dropped, then it'll say no drop. A row store, target table HANA will be created as row store table instead of column store. And the portion of the records, or you can specify the number of records. And there is a macro called skip record when you want to remove some records which not required in HANA database. And IUC, see, there are two things of filtering. One is you can apply filtering with skip record. One is you can apply filtering with SPC proc. But SPC proc filtering will apply only for delta replication only. This can apply for anything, parameter based or event based. So you can use skip record like this, or you can write a code. And in SPC proc, you'll have to specify the syntax as per your database of ECC. If you're using SLT to extract data from ECC, so first understand what is the database of your ECC. Based on that, in that respective style, you'll have to implement this SPC proc. So if it is Oracle, they're implementing it like this. Then there's something like performance options. It's not so critical, but while reading, there's something like we have different reading plans. While reading data from the source, it can go about reading in different reading plans. One is we have access plan calculations. So when you use this access plan calculations, it is faster if there are indexes on the table, and we can also do parallel loading. But it requires additional indexing is required. And if I use option like db set get, no separate index is required. Parallel data load from only this DIMS, this support packet is supported. Additional consumption of database buffer is done in this case. And if you use 4 and 5 index clustering, very fast data load after the data is extracted to the table index. Okay. Minimal usage of the buffer. Additional table space temporarily required in the source system. So depend, if there are index on the table, you'll use this. If there are no indexes, you want to speed it up for the cluster tables, then use this 4 or 5 option. So where do you specify the options? It is stuck. Basically, when you create configurations here, in the SP performance options, you can specify it for the table. So add your table. Then you can say reading type as 1, actual plan calculation, 4 or 5 index cluster tables, depending on what you want. If our indexes are maintained, I'll say 1. And if there are no indexes are maintained, then I'll go with what? Index cluster with import from DB, or with tables, I'll say import from DB. So like this, and number of parallel jobs you want, I want 4 parallel jobs I want. So this can, and parallelization should be dividing the data based on what? Let's say based on WAR, okay? Based on the currencies, let it divide the data parallelly and execute those records. So like this, you can basically specify the performance options in this performance options space. And then now just gathering all the information. So you know about LTR is used for monitoring all the, creating your configurations, and small set of monitoring also can be done in LTR. I'll show you that. So if you go to LTR, so if you go to LTR, you can see this configuration name, and this is the transfer ID. When you click on this, you get the details of the configurations. We have an option. I told you when you go to edit, we have an option of stopping the master job, which will stop all the replications, and you can also restart. If there is some problem with this replications, you can come and restart your master job, which will solve many of the problems. And here you can see the trigger what is created. Here you can see the statistics for each table, what is whether it is executed or not. Now whether replication is in process, was there any data latency, okay, while replicating the data, and you can see the settings here. How many number of jobs are used, initial calculations, all the settings what is being used. Okay, that is one place you can see, and pretty much monitoring can be done from which tree code? LTRC. In LTRC, first of all, in the table overview, you can see the list of tables what is being maintained for replication or loading, and for each table you can see the log table here. You can see whether the trigger has been activated. If you want to see the triggers, you go to expert and specify your table name and see the triggers definition. That is one. And in the data transfer monitor, you can see which are the tables, whether the, you can see reading type, whether 1 here it is used, here it is 3 is used, yeah, whether the loading is load is completed, done or not. You can see this X indicates what? True. So load, it was just a load. This is not loading, this is replication. And the block size is it is taken as 8 lakhs. You can see all those table type is transparent table or cluster. You can have any table. You can see those table information here. And if there are any errors, you can see the logs here. Application logs. I don't have any error now, but if there's any errors, it will show me. There was one error, missing triggers in ZSLT sales for MTT levels. It was an old error, not for your. Like this, if there are any errors, you can see because in SLT when it fails in, you don't show any error, it just says error. It just says error. So if you want to see what is that error, you can get into LTRC. In the application logs, you can see that error logs. And in the loading statistics, you can see for Y sales. So it has actually, there was 10,000 records was taken in the first portion. Next 654 records was taken in the second portion. Here you can see all the details. If you say load and finished, you'll see statistics for everything. That is it, what you can see in LTRC completely. It says there's one portion with so many records. In 9 records. Right? So like this in LTRC also we can basically see the most of the monitoring details. This is okay. You see in trigger statistics settings, LTRC, we can get all this information. Yeah. Next, I wanted to show you this. Say we have been replicating this, right? So you get. I want to delete all this. Let's say I never wanted any transformations. I just want to replicate. I want to stop this. Okay. Now I would like to replicate this table again. Y cells. So now it is replicate in process. Okay. So I have data loaded. I got till here. Now let's say someone has stopped the replication. If someone has stopped the replication, if I have to start the reload again I'll have to replicate, which will actually drop all this data and load it again, right? You remember we had this problem. When I say stop replication, it will delete the trigger log table, and when you say replicate again, instead of starting from the place where it is stopped, it deletes all the data, reloads, and again the delta is handled, right? I don't do that. Okay, say someone has deleted this, so the replication is stopped. So instead of reloading it completely, I would like to enable the trigger and start the replication from where it is stopped again. So what I want to do is, see, basically SAP has given ready-made functionality for all this, load, replicate, all this. But whenever you say load here from here, or whenever you say replicate from here, whatever it is, it formulates one command and formulates a SQL statement into this table called rs underscore order. Order is a table, rs underscore order is a table where whatever you want my SLT to be performed, you initiate these orders here. And it will have all the orders. These are the nothing but the operations to be performed. This is what rs order. So since SAP does not give me direct flexibility of enabling the delta recording without historical data, I can manually enter an action point what I want into this order. Yeah. So how will I do? Just get into Google. Yeah, when you get into this, see here you get to see list of all action codes, what your RS order can do. See T is what create table without loading any data. L is for load. So when you already have a ready-made button called load, when you click on that load, it is actually creating an entry into this table RS order with this action code as L. R for replication, C for stop, S for suspend, W for resume. For all these action codes, SAP has given us the ready-made buttons through which you are able to initiate the load, replicate, can stop, suspend, resume. But you have other action codes like say M. What does M does? Activate delta recording without starting the replication. What does Q does? Start replication process without initial load. So if you can initiate the first action with M saying start the delta recording, then if you can initiate the command with Q saying start the replication without historical data, then will that solve my purpose? So I need to perform I need to perform an operations with action code as M and Q. So I'll make an entry into this table with M and Q, which will actually perform my operations. So how do I make an entry? I just have tried an insert statement. Basically, where should I insert this? What is my table? Z9 Cubex SLT, right? In the schema, RS order table, this is BZ4. But what is my connection name? EHP is my system ID. And this EHP, BW74 EHP7 17. BW74, EHP7, EHP71. For which table was by sales? And next is order ID, I don't worry. Next is action code. For action code, what is it you want? You want with what? Initially with M, because M action will basically do the delta, activate the delta recordings for you. And column all this you don't have to worry. Refresh behavior and language. So I select this insert and then execute. So it performs an insert into this table, which actually performs that activity. Look at this now. Let's see the refresh. Record only. There is an error. Record only is executed. After recording is done, I will say now it will start the replication. So I will say what? Replication without historical data. So I'll set a status with order as what? What action code? Q. See, replicate only. When I say replicate only, it is not bringing historical data. It is only replicating the changes what will be performed. Like this, we can also do replication without initial load by using an action code with Q and M. M will activate the delta recording, and Q will initiate the replication without historical data like this. Yeah. And the typical use case of SLT, like look at this. Say you have a scenario where BW on HANA. I can use SLT to replicate from SAP or non-SAP and push into HANA tables, and on these tables you can create views, and views can be used into BW. That is one case. I can use a latest SLT server and push real-time data directly into BW and use them for into reporting. Either ways we can use, okay. The difference I'll show you with the old and new support, new this thing. See, if this is old, old is like this is SP4. When I say new, you look at this till SP4. Source could be SAP or non-SAP. When I say SAP, it's asked me RFC. When I say non-SAP, it asks me for a database, which database you want, and you'll have to specify the database connection. But when it comes to the target is by default what? Only HANA bus. Yeah. I'll show you the latest one. This is the latest SP5 support. Like say new, could be third slide. Say next. So now what is asked me? Specify source. Source could be again SAP or non-SAP. When I say non-SAP, it will ask me for which database you want as source. Okay. And when I say next, error button. Something. But look at this. Even for target, now you have two options: RFC or DB. When I said DB, by default, database could be only HANA. Only HANA can be used as a target. I cannot push real-time data to SQL Server or whatever. Only to target. If it is target is database HANA, and if it is RFC, I can go with BW RFC connection here. So because of this flexibility, where target could be an RFC, we have a flexibility of having SLT pushing real-time data into BW also directly. Yeah? either BW or HANA. So with this, we are done. Now I need to show you how do we replicate data from non-SAP. We'll just take a break for 5 minutes and then we'll start with the replication of data from non-SAP. Yeah.
Sir, what is the difference between database connection and RFC?
Database connection is
Like when
you use all the database connection parameters and connect to the database. So when you want to establish a connection between SAP system and the database, it's like any other programming language. We use a database connection string and connect to the database. If it is RFC, like it is a connection what you establish between a SAP system to SAP system, more or not on the data, more on the remote function call through which the SAP system 1 can remotely will be able to log into system 2, and system 2 will be able to remotely log into system 1. Yeah.
Hmm.
And then we'll start. Yeah. Okay, now we'll start with the SLT from non-SAP. Okay, boss. See, what's my plan is now complete close this down. Let me stop this replication. Okay. Now one important point is you'll have a table called schema called sys REPL, which will have all the replication. Okay, this will have only one table RS replicate. See what are what are configurations you see here in the SLT here. You get to see that in the table level here. Configurations. Yeah. I just want to delete this configuration and create a new one. So first, what I'm trying to do is I'm just trying to clean this table out. So delete all. Yeah. I'm deleted entries from the table. So no more components in that connections. Right now, if I close this and try to go to provisioning again, it says there's no configuration configured. So basically in the SLT server, equal to LTR now. I would like to delete that configuration and create a new one. Before deleting, I will make sure I stop the master job so that all the jobs will be on hold. Even when I can just keep this configuration, create a new one, but my system will be very slow. Someone delete this out. Delete this configuration. The configuration is deleted. Now what is my target is, I would like to take some non-SAP source, some database. For ECC, my database is MS SQL Server with EHP as a schema and this is a owner. Yeah? So I would like to take that SQL Server database. From SQL Server, I would like to load into HANA using SLT. I'll open the SQL Server database. The connection is lost, so EHP and so I have in this I have a database called EHP, which is actually the database for ECC. So you will see all the tables of ECC in this. So you'll have a table called Y sales. Yeah. The same Y sales can be seen here. This is actually the database of ECC. I'm seeing in the backend. I can see the data. So we just created 13 and 14. So this data I would like to extract through SLT from this database. And this is my SLT server and this is my HANA database. And then now I've got my so basically you'll have the source. So you'll have the source, you'll have SLT, you'll have HANA. This is MS SQL, SLT and HANA. So I need to have a data. Now in this case, instead of using RFC, I'll be using what? You need to have a DB connection. Here also you'll have DB connection. So what I'll do, first let me get it SLT. Just to clean all the triggers what is already there, I use this T code, IUC remote, expert function, delete triggers. All triggers I want to be deleted. If there's any log tables, I would like to clean that out. Okay, everything is done. Now I can start creating. Now first, from this is my SLT server. From SLT server, I need to create a database connection to SQL server. So DBCO is a T code to create database connection. I already have one, so or I can use the same. So change new entries. Z9 cubex SQL. So that's my connection name. And which database are you connecting to? MS SQL. And this will be the connection string. So in help in SDN you'll get to know what is the connection string for each of this database. I'm saying my database server is BW so and so. MS SQL database is EHP, and then here you give the username and password. I want this connection to be permanent and say save. Now I want to test this connection whether this is fine or not using the program SC38 ADBC. You'll have a program called ADBC underscore test underscore connection. Your connection and say execute. So the connection is successful. It would have created some logs. I would like to clean those logs out. Just delete those logs. Now once this is done, I can start creating the configuration. I go to LTR, say create new. I'll use same name Z9 cubex SQL as my configuration name. Connection to this is not my source is not SAP, source is non-SAP. Which one is it? MS SQL. So give the database connection name, and the schema what you're trying to connect is EHP, and your target would is still HANA system. Instance is 01. Number of jobs I want is for 6 for transferring, 3 for calculating the tables, and I want this in the real time. Say okay. Like closing preview connection. What source is SQL Server, and the connection name is Z. It has created this configuration. Now if I go to my HANA database, I go data provisioning. So I should see the new connection, new transfer ID, which is 16 of YQX SQL, which is connecting this SQL, and I should see a schema called Y9 QX SQL. Y9 QX. And if you see, for a non-SAP, by default it has brought in these two tables, DD02L and DD02T. L will have all the table names. You don't see the status here, but it'll by default it will have brought those tables out. to have the metadata of the tables. Now let me just say I want to load the table Y sales, which is in the SQL Server database, and then Salesforce. It is finished. So like this, I can replicate data from non-SAP also. If I go to this, some noise is coming in the background. Audience. Okay, like this we can replicate data from non-SAP also. Clear? And my SQL Server database also has some this also has got some other table like VBAC. It's got this data, so I would like to get this replicated. So and say load. So you get an error. But if you need to understand what is this error, I can go to SLT server, LTRC, my transfer ID is 16, execute. Application logs, only errors. Incorrect syntax. There is some column, but you can see the logs. Just in syntax error, but okay. But this is how you can start replicating tables from non-SAP also. Okay. Next, I would like to show you about connecting. I told you by using SLT server we can push real-time data to BW also, right? So I would like to show how do we connect that to BW bus. So that is possible only from the latest support pack. So I'm just using this. So what I've got is just to show you, demonstrate. This is my BW server. Got RSA1. Yeah. So within this I've installed SLT with the latest support pack, DIMS SP5. Got DIMS SP5 2011 SP5. This is the latest one. So now I would like to create a source system connection by using. So I've got SLT also within BW. I can install that as a separate. I can install that as a separate server also. But what I'm trying to do is I want it this way. So I want to like to use BW itself as source bus because other source systems are not in the same support pack level, so I can't use it. So what I'll do. So first of all, again source, I'll create RFC. I'll go to SM59. I'll create RFC connection towards my BW system because my BW itself is the same NSP system itself is my source as well as target here in this case. RFC2. to source. You need to specify the host. Since the 16. I've given the target source details. Login. So my source RFC is ready. Where I'm connected to the same myself. Now I'll go to LTR. Already one, let it be there. And I can delete this. So I will create new configuration. Anything say ZSLT cubex 9. My source is going to be SAP system. So for SAP, my RFC is this multiple usage. I would like to allow. Next, and my target is not the HANA data. Target could be either HANA if it is DB, but my target is not HANA. My target is an SAP system. So I say RFC here. Since you want the target is going to be BW, for RFC don't give any RFC here, just say none. You have to give it as none. Okay. And then scenario for RFC can say ODP replication. ODP replication scenario. Okay. And then just give some alias name. I'll say 9 cubex is my alias. And number of jobs I want as 6 and number of jobs 3. That's fine. I want as real time. And so that's it. Create configuration. So configuration is created. So close. Now you should see the configuration created here. Okay. Now when you go to PW, you have to create a source system connection here. Now go to source systems. You'll have something called ODP SLT queue. Create right click, say create new connection. Say something Z SLT 9QB something. SLT connection for 9 cubex. This here I'll have to give the RFC connection details for SLT server. But for me SLT server and this is same. So try to create a connection. Then we'll create a connection. It will ask me for the alias. Remember what was the ODP alias name you've given? 9 cubex. You remember this name? In SLT configuration given the ODQ alias name is 9 cubex. Yes. Let's create the connection now. That is it. Now this is your connection created. Now you can start creating your data source. Get to the data source tree. You can create your data source. Yeah, when you click on this, it starts reading all the tables and then show you. Let it read. From the source, it will read all the tables and then show you, and then select that. Yeah. Select the table. So the table will be acting as the ODP provider, and you create a data source on it and then start connecting. Historically, you load normal. From then, what happens? You'll create a DTP and schedule with RDA. And as and when there is a new posting, it will be bringing that into the DSO. It will not work for me now, but I just wanted to show how the source stream is created and the data source is created for you. But don't worry so much of this. This is a really too early topic because this is still not being used. But there is a flexibility where SLT can also be connected to BW, because if there is a discussion comes in that business users wants real-time data, so they want to go for HANA. We don't have to go to HANA just for the real-time data, because I can also bring in real-time data into BW also, because SLT can get connected here. So I take this Z sales table, which is in that. Say YZ sales. I want the transaction data. So just take the same name. So extraction is based on this ODP table, SLT. Fields proposal is fine. It's a 16. Okay, fields, and then activate your data source. Activate your data source. I'll create a data source. Data source is done, and let me create some DSO. I already have Infobix for those. Create transformations. So since this is ODP of data source, I don't need info package. Straight away I can use DTP. See, normal delta Q would be what? RSS7, right? For ODP, you'll have ODQ mon is a delta Q. So still I don't see my data source because I've not run in it. Let me create DTP. So directly from source, PSA not used. I'm okay. First delta is to bring in the historical data. This is like standard DTP now. I think the table name is Z sales. No, data is physically coming in. There are 8 records now. Do like init load. So let me activate this. So you'll see that 8 records which is physically loaded. Okay. And in the you will see the delta Q as ODQ mon. You should see the new data source now. Where is mine? 9. This one 9 cubic Z cells getting. There's one DTP request which has loaded those 8 records. You go and get inside 8 rows. Now what I want is, let me in the source table, let's say we create some new record as 9, some date. This is 9,000, some date, IN. Okay. I want this record to be refreshed into add to table. Now do we have this? No, nothing is brought in. So to have that automatically reflected, so your SLT will identify the new record, but how is it should be pushed into my DSO, right? So we have to make this DTP as real-time DTP and assign it to a daemon. This is my problem. I have some problem in this. If we can schedule this, see, I have something like object data source is logged by user. Logged I can remove. RSRDA. This is mine. We create demand. Okay. Assign this to see, I get some open delta node data could not be carried out. I see some problem here in this. Otherwise, when this is triggered through demand, it will automatically keep picking that data into my active table straight away, because RD will put the data directly into my active table of my tables. Like this, the real-time data, as and when they create a transaction in the source, it will be coming into your DSO. Hmm. It's my problem. I have some problem with RTA. This does not go in. But for now, just to show you that it's bringing. Instead of we doing it manually, now we are not using PSS. Instead of bringing it manually, just saying, just to show you that when the DTP is triggered, it comes in. Because daemon is not able to trigger, right? I'm just see, I have this problem. But if this problem is solved, you will start getting that real-time data into the DSO when you schedule this DTP with the RDA daemon. Yeah. She said, Vijay said is good. With confusion, see, this is straightforward. But first of all, what you do is you have a source, you have SLT, and you have BW. SLT, source system, BW. First thing is what you do is in SLT server, create RFC connection to source. If this is SAP system, yeah. So in SM59, you create a connection. Okay. And once that connection is created in SLT, you create the LTR configuration. While creating the configuration in the target RFC, give it as none and give the ODQ name, some queue name, ODQ queue name. Now get to BW, create a ODP source system of SLT. While creating, give the RFC connection details of SLT server. Then choose the ODQ queue name. So then it establishes connection to. So in the example what I showed, all these three were my same system. Only one system I used as source, target, SLT. That's where it could be. Otherwise, this is how it has to be done. Yeah. Okay, boss. So this is what maximum I can teach on SLT and demonstrate this. And finish activation, any new records comes in, how do we treat? Yeah, new records, that's what I'm saying. When the DTP is scheduled with the daemon, automatically it will be picking the new records through that and pushes them directly to the active table. And it is not virtual data, it is physically bringing data into the DSO. Yeah. So SLT will identify the new records being created in the source, and to process them we'll be using the DTP with RDAs. Okay. Fine. We'll stop it here for today. This is the end of SLT, and tomorrow we'll touch on BODS. How do we use BODS as ETL tool to push data into HANA from different sources? So when I'm teaching about BODS, my focus is not on the transformations. My focus is on about integrating. So how can I integrate ECC to HANA through BODS, or a non-SAP system to BODS, or BW to BODS? So we are not focusing on the internal complex transformations, what is there in BODS. We're not focusing on that. Just a overview on BODS and how it can be leveraged. Yeah, any doubt?
This SLT we can use already existing BW system. I mean, BW, initially already BW system is there. So can we feed the data through SLT to our data system?
Yeah. You have to import certain DIMS into that system, upgrade your system. You don't need a HANA in the backend, not mandatory. Okay, just BW system is enough to get the SLT working, pushing into BW. But only thing is you need to upgrade your versions of BW and install some. Hello.
Which version BW support SLT?
Minimum 7.3 minimum.
Okay.
7.3 SP8 minimum. Okay. Then you have to have your DIMS patches installed. Then it can go through. Yeah. No class tomorrow. Why? Because BODs is like, it's not so important for us, because we are not going to project as if we are BODS consultant, but for us to just understand how BODS pushes in, we just need to look at. So that is not an important class, but we don't want to waste time in the weekdays. Let's finish it off tomorrow, right? Even if you don't attend a class, that is not the point, because that's not so important for us. But for a BODS consultant, you would like to know how he's supposed to push data into HANA, how it works in, how can that be used as an import server. So just an overview on BODS. That's it. My SLT is installed on Windows Server, and when I'm trying to connect SLT BW to Oracle, it is not connecting. We need to install Oracle client or BW. Yeah. See, first of all, you need to create a DB connection to Oracle. So in your BW system, by using DBCO, you need to establish a connection towards Oracle system. To have your DBCO connection established, you need to install some drivers. You need to install some ODBC drivers. నాకు అంత పెద్ద లేదు కానీ, but see, if you go to for NSP, I was connected to SQL Server database, right? And my data is in D or D. C లో ఉంది. C user SAP, no, it's in D. So when you get to D user SAP, then NSP, DBS, then there will be something like exe file folder. Here you have to place your corresponding database DLL file. Okay, then you'll be able to create a database connection towards that particular database bus. Yeah, install Oracle on BW server. It connects to Oracle, but we are not able to install Oracle on BW server. Install Oracle on BW server. There's some problem here. What you speak? See, you have installed. See, your Oracle is a backend for BW, or Oracle is a separate centralized database, and BW is separate, and then you want to connect to that.
No, Oracle is separate, sir. Oracle is separate, so we want
to bring in that Oracle drivers, the DLL files, and place into your BW server into this path exe file. Then go to DBCO, create a database connection towards that Oracle. Then use a database connection in the SLT configuration. That's all. Yeah?
Okay.
Some of the videos not received. Could you please send? I am sending videos here regularly. Please, if you not received something, talk to Pawan. Okay.
Whatever
from 18th video you're not receiving. Tomorrow. So that is wrong. So talk to Pawan. I'm sending every class. Please. PPT for SLT I'll send this out. Okay. Not received 30th April. 30th April was. But any videos not working or old ones, please talk to Pawan.
We got 30th video, sir.
For BW, there's nothing like load, suspend or something. If you want to suspend or load or through in SLT and BW, you have to stop your DTP RDA. That's all. What was it? Next one. What is it?
Sir, whatever examples which we have seen yesterday and today, our SLT server was installed on ECC, right? Only ECC.
Yeah. Yesterday I showed was on ECC. The latest one I showed it today was on BW. Yeah?
Okay.
If you're not able to create new SLT configuration, that's fine. But what you do is, I showed you the mechanism of deleting today. First, you have to delete the entries in RS replication components, REPL schema. Then delete your configuration. Then go to the T code IUC_remote and delete all your triggers and log tables. Then create a new configuration. Then you will be able to create. Okay. Fine, miss. Thanks.